Hey, how you doing? This is Adam Post, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books and marketing expert covering Disney. Woke Disney PANICS blames writers and directors for overload of failed woke content. Let's get into the story. Before we do, please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications. Give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate you guys. Coming from Bounding into Comics, Disney CEO Bob Iger admits the company's recent output featured an overload of woke content. Quote, creators lost sight of what their number one objective needs to be. That kind of criticism from Bob Iger is not something he's ever said or done before. It means they want the public to know they're trying to make a serious change. Doesn't mean they're going to be successful, and it doesn't mean they even know how to do this. But now they're talking about it. Coming from Puck.News, this is done by a great Disney insider. He's got a lot of entertainment industry resources. Iger's Disney de-wokening. The go woke, go broke narrative persists despite its origins as social media and Fox News noise. And now it's clear that Disney CEO Bob Iger himself believes that. Whether it's BS or not, the company's progressive messaging has become a problem. Talk about criticism. This comes from MovieWeb. The Marvels could be a box office flop, but it's not Nia DaCosta's fault. She's the director of the Marvels. Bob Iger does not agree. From CNBC, Bob Iger says the Marvels had little supervision and Disney has made too many sequels. This is also a very aggressive criticism against Nia DaCosta. I did a video blaming Nia DaCosta for the failure of the Marvels. Of course, it's not just her fault, but she was the director. The director is very responsible for how a movie comes out. And a lot of critics said it was bad. And it wasn't just about it being woke. It was just bad. Even when Kevin Feige spent months trying to fix it. And on top of that, DaCosta shows this lack of professionalism where after the movie came out and it was pretty clear right away it was going to be a total failure, she said the Marvels haters are virulent and violent and racist and sexist and homophobic, attacking the Marvel audience. And it's not just the audience for the Marvels. This is the audience that would be for other Marvel movies, people who have supported and believe in the Marvel brand. Instead of finding a way to be gracious and taking some responsibility, there she is attacking Disney's current and future customers. That's enough for someone to say, okay, the only opportunity here is to make an example out of her and send a message to other creatives working on our projects currently and any of the other creatives we may work with in the future that they need to do things that actually support the company. Even if they're still making woke junk, the people that get paid these big fees to work on these projects need to be supportive of the company. From Gizmodo, damn, what does Disney have against Nia DaCosta? The middling response to the Marvels has created a situation where the Hollywood giant has taken an unprecedented stance of throwing its director under the bus. This isn't even Kevin Feige throwing her under the bus. This is Kevin Feige's boss, the CEO of Disney, throwing her under the bus. It's pretty extraordinary, and Bob Iger does things like this to send a message. It's not just because of her. From Variety, the Marvels suffered from a lack of supervision on the set, says Bob Iger. Disney CEO also admits the studio has made too many sequels recently. This is also his way of saying there was no reason to ever make the Marvels in the first place. While a lot of people never liked Captain Marvel, it did do over $1 billion in box office because of the character's close association with the rest of the Avengers. If they had just done one Captain Marvel movie and didn't decide, oh, we have to push these characters that no one really wants because we need to redefine superheroes. If they had just done one movie, their fans would have still been disappointed, but many would have still seen the movie and it would not have turned out to be this absolute disaster for Marvel. From Puck.News, Iger's Disney de-wokening. Crickets, a friend at Pixar, texted when he asked how Disney CEO Bob Iger's entertain first comments had gone over at Pixar headquarters. If you remember, back in 2022, Pixar employees screamed censorship while publicly blasting former leader Bob Chapek for his inaction over Florida's, quote, "Don't Say Gay" bill, revealing that nearly every moment of overtly gay affection in Pixar movies is cut at Disney's behest. In response, Chapek allowed a same-sex kiss to be restored in that summer's Lightyear, which the Pixar folks considered a big victory. Then the movie flopped. though almost certainly not because two women smooched for half a second. No, that was part of the reason, because when you push things in and you consider it a victory for pushing an agenda, it's no longer entertainment. That is the whole reason movies like this flop. The Disney go woke, go broke narrative persists. Once an unassailable and uniting brand, the Disney brand is now negatively associated with activism by a significant number of consumers. Jonathan Turley, the legal scholar and Fox News contributor, wrote in The Hill, Disney was ranked the 5th most polarizing brand in the recent Axios Harris poll. South Park just tapped into that sentiment, though it targeted Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy as the Disney avatar who repeatedly screams, quote, put a chick in it, make her lame and gay, which struck insiders as a bit weird because supposedly Kennedy isn't exactly considered a social justice warrior. Although, of course, you'll remember Kathleen Kennedy was pushing with her t-shirts, the Force is female, changing how Star Wars worked, recasting characters, not maintaining the original Star Wars brand, making Star Wars, even having the Force, not be a consistent thing throughout the Star Wars universe. That is all Kathleen Kennedy's fault. If you leave the Los Angeles, New York bubble, you hear it, not necessarily backlash, but skepticism towards Disney. The fans, right or wrong, have noticed a shift, and some don't like it. The racially diverse Little Mermaid, a non-binary character in Elemental, the Latina lead of the new Snow White, the interracial parents, gay teen, disabled dog in Strange World. When seeing that movie in a theater half full of families in Arizona, there were some audible groans in the audience during the gay courtship scenes. Part of the author says screw them, and he suspects that Iger, who has long championed diversity in Disney storytelling, feels the same way. But instead, he's now sounding a little bit more like Ron DeSantis than Gavin Newsom. Speaking at the Deal Book Conference, Iger, for the first time, really blamed part of the company's recent box office woes on the messaging in Disney content. Quote, creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be, Iger said. We have to entertain first. It's not about messages. When pressed by Andrew Ross Sorkin, he continued, I like being able to entertain if you can infuse it with positive messages and have a good impact on the world. Fantastic. But that should not be the objective. When I came back, what I really tried to do is return to our roots. Messaging is code for politics or politically correct or woke or whatever conservatives and normal people want to call progressive approaches to storytelling. There's nothing wrong with having characters that are of all kinds of different identities and genders. That's fine. Step 1, don't change existing characters from how they were originally portrayed to different genders, ages, skin colors. Keep things consistent. Step 2, follow classic storytelling rules. Storytelling and diversity are not the same thing. Storytelling and representation are not the same thing. Storytelling is not someone's skin color or their gender. Their visual appearance has nothing to do with that part that is storytelling in a story. That's all they need to focus on. And this is certainly a shift in public rhetoric, though the author is told Iger has been more closely monitoring the political messaging in the content for most of his second tenure in the CEO suite. Iger said the messaging got worse while he was gone, which was nearly all of 2022, though that's a bit of revisionist history. Movies like Lightyear and Strange World and Little Mermaid were greenlit either before Iger stepped down as CEO in early 2020 or while he was supposedly in charge of all creative output as executive chairman until the end of 2021. Several Disney people have told the author that the push for more agenda-driven casting and storytelling was supercharged by the death of George Floyd in May 2020, which sparked an anti-racist reckoning all over Hollywood, not just Disney. And obviously, Disney wants to be in business with the top creators, many of whom believe that their content should be a force for change and have earned the right to make stuff that aligns with those values. Who knows if Lin-Manuel Miranda is interested in doing a Little Mermaid reboot if it's not racially diverse. Of course, there are many people who can do their work and can focus on their work and produce great content. And that's who Disney and everyone else should be hiring. And now, seemingly a pullback. Interestingly, there's been little backlash over the Iger comments from Pixar or elsewhere. That's partly because Iger commands greater faith and respect from the company's employees than Chapek did. After all, Chapek was the new guy navigating his first public controversy in Don't Say Gay, which he and his then communications chief Jeff Morrell botched from the beginning. Iger greenlit Black Panther, so that makes him cool. More importantly, both Iger and the leaders of the individual units like Pixar are in a much different place these days, having to explain underperformance and thus focus more acutely on their core competency, making and releasing entertaining content that appeals to the most people possible. It's not that diversity is a luxury, it's actually the opposite. Studies show that more diverse entertainment is more successful, and studios leave money on the table when it's not. Okay, that is a statement that I see, and they like to link certain studies and certain interviews that they've had with people and polls, but the reality is they wouldn't be pulling back on anything if it was actually working. They can keep telling that lie as many times as they want and cite fake, non-representative studies, but Disney would not be trying to purge out political and woke messaging if that actually brought in business. In fact, they were willing to lose lots of money while they were pushing their agenda, apparently just to get the messages out and to keep people happy and to make their lives as easy as possible. But it didn't work. Iger now seems more acutely conscious that while quality is the leading driver of success, the perception of the brand might be hurting the performance of the products. And he has more shareholders than just Nelson Peltz and his Mar-a-Lago buddy Ike Perlmutter who believe that. Peltz said he wanted a board seat to cut costs, and Iger slashed $7.5 billion on his own in response. Now Peltz is back and talking about the failures of the Disney agenda. So Iger is again preempting by signaling a content shift. This is incredible because it seems like almost everything Iger does is in response to Nelson Peltz, but also to not have Nelson Peltz join their board of directors. If they allowed Nelson Peltz to join the board of directors, he could help them a lot very quickly. So why does Iger keep creating situations where it becomes impossible for Peltz to get on the board of directors? I'll answer that in another video with my best analysis of it. The proxy fight with Nelson Peltz is likely to play out all winter. Content-wise, Peltz and Perlmutter would almost certainly be a negative influence according to the author. However, Peltz knows his business. He would not be a negative influence. Remember, Ike refused to make Black Panther and Captain Marvel. Well, if Ike didn't make Black Panther, if Ike didn't make Captain Marvel while he was at Disney, perhaps they would have lost the opportunity with Black Panther. Fine. But they would have lost the devastation of ruining their brand over Captain Marvel the way they did. And of course, they never would have made the Marvels, which has now lost them a couple of $100 million. But more importantly, the Marvel brand wouldn't be completely destroyed to the point where Bob Iger is calling out the director of the Marvels in public, so at least he has someone to blame. A hack of Sony's database revealed that Ike Perlmutter pressured then Sony Pictures CEO Michael Lynton about the perils of female superheroes. Well, there are 3 female superheroes in the Marvels. Ike Perlmutter was right. Clearly, they never should have made a female-driven superhero film until they had the right character and the right story, and it fit in with the rest of Marvel's momentum for storytelling. Even though that's difficult to do and it creates a limitation, they would not have wound up destroying the entire brand for the Marvel branded studio. The author says, I'd never given much credence to the whole go woke, go broke narrative, which seems still most like social media and Fox News noise. But it's real, and now it's clear that Iger thinks it's a problem. That shift will almost certainly impact Disney's approach to storytelling, but whether it impacts the bottom line is less clear. It would take years for Disney to fix this. They can't just fix it overnight. It's difficult to make good content when you're not busy trying to undo spending years putting messaging into the content. Does Disney even know how to make straightforward, entertaining content anymore? James Gunn did it with Guardians of the Galaxy 3. People really weren't complaining about that movie, and it made a good profit for Disney. But now James Gunn is not available to Disney. And now for more detail on what Bob Iger actually said, we'll go over Bounding Into Comics article. Disney CEO Bob Iger admits company's recent output featured an overload of woke content. Creators lost sight of what their number one objectives needed to be. And if you're wondering, well, yeah, you have these creators, but doesn't someone in an executive capacity oversee and approve what these people are doing? Yes, of course, that's how that works. So if they don't get rid of the executives or create some kind of a new process where Bob Iger himself isn't going through and checking movies to see if they're too woke or not, like that, why would you do this if you're a multi-billion-dollar entertainment business? We will probably see some changes, but how they're going to do it, they're not telling anyone. In a seeming expression of corporate humility that more than almost any that came before it in human history remains to be seen to be believed. Disney CEO Bob Iger has admitted that the House of Mouse's recent production focused far too heavily on social messaging and not enough on actually entertaining audiences. The current steward of Disney's sinking ship made this admission while speaking to the New York Times' Andrew Ross Sorkin as part of the outlet's 2023 Deal Book Summit and annual event, wherein the aforementioned reporter hosts public interviews with a number of notable individuals from across the world's various industries. Amidst a general discussion with the CEO regarding the current state of the ever-changing movie industry, Sorkin eventually moved to ask Iger what he believed might be a political question. Well, we were talking about environmental, social, and corporate governance investing earlier this morning with Chase Bank CEO Jamie Dimon, began Sorkin. Part of what happened while you were gone from the company was a number of films that were greenlit that people were describing as woke, with woke characters, a fight with DeSantis by the time you got back. That all said, the host ultimately pressed Iger, quote, "I'm curious what you think has happened and how you as a company are supposed to deal with that and what you feel like what you can say and can't say given this remarkably polarized climate we're in." Clarifying as to whether or not Sorkin's inquiry was regarding the company's content or the stances it takes on social issues and being met with a direct answer of both, the Disney CEO then explained, quote, "Let me start with content and your comment about woke characters. Our primary objective in creating content as a company, save for ABC News, which obviously is to inform, is to entertain. Whether it's sports, whether it's Disney, whether it's Marvel, make things that entertain people. And the good news is that there's a marketplace out there that demands entertainment. It's a fantastic business to be in because of that." Turning to address the actual substance of their recent content, Iger asserted, quote, "I think that what happened over a period of time and was building and building, and maybe it reached a peak of some sort while I was gone, is that creators lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be. Often when we entertain, and we've entertained as a company over the 100 years we've been in business, we have entertained with values and with having a positive impact on the world in many different ways. I use Black Panther as a great example of that, just in terms of fostering acceptance, or the movie Coco, which Pixar did about the Day of the Dead. I like being able to do that, entertain, and if you can infuse it with positive messages that have a good impact on the world, fantastic. But that should not be the objective." Now, when Iger says here it should not be the objective to infuse values in the world, that's actually completely wrong. You can have that objective. There's no reason you can't have the point to a story be a value or a message that you want to send. The problem is when you don't actually tell it as a coherent story. I like to refer to Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. You could tell that story. Or you could tell a story that says, with great power comes great personal opportunity, showing, let's say, Spider-Man using his powers to get really, really rich and showing him in a positive situation at the end. A story is like making a sale. It's very persuasive. That's why people tell stories. We've always told each other stories to convey messages, even before there were any written languages. A story has a message, or it's not really a story. Now back to Bob Iger. Quote, "When I came back, what I have really tried to do is return to our roots, which is, remember, we have to entertain first. It's not about messages. Again, if your story can have a positive impact, so there's that. And I've worked hard since I've been back in reminding the creative community who are our partners, our employees, that that's the objective. And I don't really want to tolerate the opposite, so there's that." And while not specifically on the topic of pop culture and entertainment, for those curious, Iger explained in regard to the company's stances on social issues, quote, "When it comes time to talking positions about issue, I have really tried hard over the years, and I'm not calling them politics because a lot of them are not politics. It's sometimes what is right and what is wrong. When it comes time to talking positions, I have tried really hard to apply a standard that asks, is this relevant to the company, to our people, to our shareholders? That's a very important test," he said. And as you can imagine, literally almost anything can apply to his employees or his company. For example, quote, "That's a very important test," he said. "So if we take a position on the environment, we care about the health of our planet. It's because we believe that if the planet is not healthy, it will be bad for our business. People are not going to go to theme parks if they can't breathe the air, for example. That's not politics, that's just business. So if anyone has accused us of being political when it comes to that, they're just dead wrong. Well, if Bob Iger thinks that he can change the air quality based on making bad woke movies or TV shows, that's not going to happen. Even in a well-told story, you're still not going to change the climate. Iger then declared I could argue the same thing. It was interesting to listen today to Vice President Kamala Harris about immigration. We have over 200,000 employees. We rely on a workforce that is talented, motivated, and interested in working for our company. The more diverse it is, the better off we are, and so a robust immigration policy is something that actually is pro-business for us. Well, if they're going to push immigration, they should put that as a vote to their shareholders. And then their shareholders can help them decide when they take on these social issues, how much money they're willing to lose, how much they want to donate the value of their brands by weakening and damaging their brands. For example, just taking Star Wars or something and deciding they're going to make that all about promoting climate change, or take Marvel now and make Marvel all about promoting immigration. You can't really do things like that to value the brands and say, yeah, but we have employees, so we're going to turn our brands into social messaging from now on, no matter what it costs us. And that's really what Disney has been doing. They should be sued for that. Let me know what you think of all this in the comments below. Always love to see your ideas. Please be sure you are subscribed to the channel. Click the bell for notifications, give me a thumbs up, and I'll see you again soon with another video. And if I don't see you, I will miss you.